Hey my loves, welcome back to my channel. It is another episode of Selfish Therapy. As you know, on this channel we talk about any and everything self-therapy. So if you are not ready to do the work, this may not be the channel for you. With that said, guys, remember that you show your support to me by subscribing to my channel, turning on your post notification bell so when I post new content, you guys are notified first. And if you like my videos, leave me a thumbs up, drop a comment below so I know what your thoughts are on each of the topics. Guys, today we're going to be talking a little bit about self-sabotaging and what that means and how to identify that. Also, I know that I sound a little bit under the weather. I probably look a little bit crazy. I haven't posted in 2 weeks, but that's because I had a family emergency. That's not even over as of yet. Still dealing with some of those things. But then now I'm under the weather. I got a little bit sick, so I feel a little bit better today. I felt like, listen, it's been 2 weeks since I've posted. I haven't been on schedule. I figured why not push through to do this video today. So that's why I'm here. Don't mind the look or the sound, just listen to the content. All right, so with that said, let's get right into the video. So what is self-sabotaging? My understanding of that is basically some things that we do, whether consciously or subconsciously, certain habits that we have that could potentially block or prevent us from meeting a specific goal or just keeping us in a space where we're comfortable and stop us from getting to that next step. That could be potentially a successful move for us, or you know what I mean? So those are things, natural habits to us. We do these things because there are tons of reasons which we're going to get into as to why we do it. Some we are aware of, we are very conscious that we are doing it, and then there are times that we don't know. It's kind of like a defense mechanism for us. So that's my understanding, for lack of a better way. So just to read it from the internet, from my research, self-sabotaging behavior refers to actions or thought patterns that consciously or subconsciously interfere with one's long-term goals and overall well-being, right? Guys, side note, I'm in the bathroom because unpacking the entire house is a mess. There's nowhere really comfortable for me to just sit down that does not look chaotic right now. So hence why this is the only place that I can actually sit. So if you're wondering why I'm in the bathroom, that's why. Anyway, getting back into what we were talking about. So we already established what is considered self-sabotage, and basically certain habits or thought patterns that you have that you do to kind of like block yourself or prevent yourself from getting or achieving specific goals that's beneficial to you. So why do people self-sabotage? There's a number of reasons why people self-sabotage. One of those that is most common is fear of failure. People are so scared to fail, so what they do, they'd rather not take the chance. Even just the way that we think, the first thing when you hear a person say, I'm not even going to do it because I'm not going to get it anyway. I can't win it anyway. I can't do it. I can't this, I can't that. That is their safe place. Their thought process is, if I don't do it, I will never experience what it feels like to fail. Right? So if I wasn't in the competition anyway, how am I going to lose? Right? So rather than looking at, okay, there is a chance that you can actually win and get to where you're going, you'd rather say, oh no, I don't want to feel what that feels like. I don't want to experience that because it doesn't feel good, so I'd rather not. People have a number of reasons why it will not work out, why they will not win versus the possibilities of winning or gaining it. So what we do, we sabotage yourself from even experiencing or getting that opportunity because you just don't want to face a possibility that it may not work out. So that's one reason. Another reason is that we want to be in control. We know that's a big one. That's a huge one. That's the thing that drives society nowadays, that having power gives you control. So it's also the same in a smaller scale, where when your thought process is, if I have control over the situation, then what are the odds? There's not much damage that can be done. So accepting that this is a possibility, that this is going to go this way right now, you take the narrow road, the safe route, if that makes sense, right? Because you're more in control of the safe road rather than taking a bigger risk or taking a bigger step. That is a possibility that you could have a bigger win. So you want to stay into the small parts that you have control, and that happens in many different ways. It could be just the type of job that you take. It could be where you live. It could be you stay in a safe zone, because in that safe zone you feel like, okay, I have more control over this situation. If I step outside of that safe zone and that comfort zone, guess what? Things may not go the way that I want, because I cannot control what is happening. So you sabotage a bigger win, a better picture, something more beneficial, not realizing that's what you're doing, right? So you take the safe route. Another one would be fear of success. Yes, I know it might sound crazy because the majority wants to be successful. The majority says, hey, this is what I want. But you do have people that is scared of being successful at some things. Why? Because it may come with more responsibility. The expectations are higher, and they may fear that they cannot meet those expectations. So what they do, they go ahead and they sabotage any opportunity that would come or allow them to get to that big of a success. So that's actually a thing. All right. And there are so many other things that play into self-sabotaging behaviors that would take a deeper dive. But this is like a top surface of, a basics of how to understand how to identify what it is and how to identify if you have some of those traits. So one of the things is so first we spoke about what it is, why people do it, and now we just wanted to get into what are some of the reasons behind what triggers it. And that could be so many different things. It could be low self-esteem. People just don't believe that they deserve certain things. They don't feel like they're good enough to achieve or to get certain things. That don't happen to me. I never win anything. Nobody ever chooses me. Nobody loves me. Some of those things. And that plays right into the negative thought process that we have. What do we believe about ourselves? These things could come from what you heard, what were the seeds that were planted into you as a child. Right? So you grow up thinking those things. You grow up thinking that you're not worthy enough. You grow up thinking that, this is just not something that would happen to me. So therefore you don't embrace it. Therefore you run away from it. So you find that self-sabotaging will come from, it could come from so many different things. It could come from a traumatic experience that you've had that you kind of like you said, it's like a defense mechanism for you. So certain things start happening to you. You're like, nah, this looks too familiar. No, thank you. I don't want to deal with it. So you kind of like push it away, right? I'm going to share an example with you. That's one of the things that for me, I feel like there have been times where I've sabotaged relationships that I've been in, right? Because it took a while for me to really understand or know what real love is, or to accept what it is. And I still may not know until I get into another relationship that shows me that, then I'll know, right? I think I know, but until you get into it, you won't know. Until you're actually in the circumstances, you won't know, because it's been a minute. But just looking back, there were some self-sabotaging behaviors that I had because I felt like, why are you so nice? What is it? I didn't have that before. I didn't have people showing me that kind of love. So when I actually experienced it, it was given to me, it's like, no, I don't know why you're so nice. No. And it messed up a good thing, right? So that has happened. It's hard for you to trust. That's one of the things. So people will come, you have genuine people, and because you don't trust them, you kind of fumble those people because you're like, There's something about this that does not feel normal to you. So what do? You mess it up, right? Been there, done that. And that's kind of the reason why I wanted to talk about it, because that's something that I realized, and I was able to identify some of those behaviors, and just wanted to talk about it with you guys. So yeah, it's real. One of those behaviors is procrastination. No matter how some people try, it's like their natural way of handling things is to procrastinate. Is the way. They might not know why. That could also stem from there's something that you have to do that may require, you're going to feel and experience certain emotions that may be considered negative. You don't want to feel it, so you'd rather put it off. You'd rather not deal with it. Some people's thought process is that maybe if I wait a little bit longer, it will just go away. Maybe if I don't do it, I won't have to feel what comes with doing that thing. Right? So what you do is you just don't do it. You don't do it because you feel like you know something that you have to do. You know that it's not going to go away. But for you, somewhere in your mind, somewhere, that's your way of protecting yourself. You're like, okay, I don't want to deal with those emotions right now. I don't want to cry. I'd rather not talk about it. I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to get angry. I don't want to talk about it. So that's a way of that's one way. By procrastinating, and the longer you take to do something, maybe it will just disappear. But guess what, honey? It's not going to go anywhere. You're going to have to. You're going to have to face it. Right? So yeah, those are some of the habits. All right. So now that we've touched bases on what it is, how to identify them, and where it could possibly stem from, now let's dive into how can we stop self-sabotaging, or how can we manage it or minimize it, right? And that's a broad task, for lack of a better way to say it, because I don't believe it's something that happens overnight. It kind of just requires unlearning certain things and kind of like rewiring the mind and the way that we think. Because it all depends on why you start doing this. What was that trigger? What puts you into that place of defense? And if it was a traumatic experience, we already know healing has to be there first, right? If it was something traumatic, it's not something that you just turn off. Maybe it's the seeds that were planted into you about yourself growing up or before, the negative things that were spoken over your life prior. Now that is something that it's a conscious effort to change the way that you think about yourself. Speak to yourself in a way that you believe. You kind of have to break those things, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's not easy. It's not easy. You also need to have the people around you. I always talk about people that speak life. It's so important to surround yourself with people that also believe in you. But yeah, there we go. The people that speak life into you and pretty much speak positive things surrounding you and everything that you do. It helps. Words of affirmation help. Some people might think it's corny, but it's what you're speaking and what you're believing and what you're accepting about yourself matters. It really does matter, right? What you believe about yourself is what's going to come out in your actions. So I feel like it starts by first what you're accepting about yourself, and it's a ongoing task. You also have to be okay that some things may not work out the way that you want. A part of winning is failing first. To be right, sometimes you have to be wrong first. Nothing is wrong with you making a mistake. Nothing is wrong with you because you fail. People always think that Get rid of the negative connotation around failing. Just because something didn't work the way that you want it to work this time does not mean that the next time you do it, you're going to get the same outcome. It doesn't mean that. And we have to be okay with trying again. If that thing really means that much to you, you have to be okay with trying again. For me, I'll tell you this. One of my traits, my self-sabotaging traits, is that I overthink. Sometimes overthinking creates all of these bunch of additional things that wasn't even necessary in the first place. And then sometimes overthinking helps me to see the bigger picture. It helps me to look at the more detailed and find the root cause. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's on two different scales depending on how you use it. What I had to start doing is start questioning myself. I really had to do that. And it might sound crazy, but it works for me. I realized when I actually was able to identify that sometimes I overthink things, because what would happen is I might overthink a situation, or I think about a situation, and the first thing is I go to the negative aspect of it first. Like, this looks like it could be this or this, and I just automatically draw to the negative thought, right? And then later it will come back and I'll see that, okay, this is not what it is. So then I feel a little bit, there were times where I used to act on it too. And I came, I was like, oh yeah. And then I felt like, oh, now I gotta say sorry. And I didn't want to have to do that anymore. So what I started doing is, when I started identifying that that's the way I thought, I started going through them, like processing them one by one. And it really helped me to not just going off on the deep end or just operating from a place without the facts. And that's what a lot of us do. We don't think outside the box. We don't ask the right questions. We don't fact check. We don't check our sources. We just take information and run with it, because rather than finding out what the truth is, it kind of gets to a watered down state where truth doesn't really matter now. It's about who's right and who's wrong in terms of what makes you feel better, or make you feel comfortable pertaining to what you believe, right? Makes your biases feel good. So sometimes we just totally ignore what are some of the other facts, because that could mean that now if I know all the other facts, I could be wrong. So we ignore those things. But I started it's like training your mind to start look at things from different standpoint, different perspective. And I think when you do that, you kind of like start understanding a little bit more, which also help to tailor your actions and your choices a little bit better, right? It kind of helps to keep your emotions in check, if that makes sense. It worked for me. And y'all know I'm a prayer warrior. I pray about everything. I go to God for everything, because I honestly, truly believe that we have no control as humans. I do believe that, seeking God first is where I get a lot of my clarity from, I get discernment from, and I have a sense of peace by doing it that way. So I won't sit here and just take credit like, oh my God, I'm human and I could get it myself. No, it took a lot of work and prayer. And y'all know I'm a prayer warrior. I pray about everything. That's just how I operate. That's what works for me. That's what I believe. And I keep doing that. So listen, guys, change comes from inside. It comes from within. It comes from understanding what you're dealing with, and you cannot do it alone. You can't do it alone. Don't mind the planes passing if you guys hear it. But I think that should wrap up this video. I hope that I've dropped some kind of nuggets or gems for you guys. And my whole thought process behind talking about these things is that, like I said, to bring more awareness, to bring self-awareness to it, because a lot of the times it's easy for us to take what everybody else says versus doing the work and digging deeper and thinking internally about what we can do differently, instead of expecting everybody else to do other things to make our life better, if that makes sense. So with that said, guys, I'm gonna love you guys and leave you. I hope that this video helped you. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up, leave a comment below, let me hear what your thoughts are on it, and what are some of your self-sabotaging behaviors that you know about, and we could talk about it. But with that said, guys, I wish you guys all the best. I know this is a late post, but I had to, and I will see you on the next video. Love you guys, and until next time, peace.